Oh man, Gibson is dead. Things could not be going more worse, and we need to get to Argus City before the regulator, or the regulator will blow up Argus City and everybody will die and it's all over and everything's terrible. So this light cycle section is actually the easiest because there's a time limit, and they kind of figured if you spend the whole time running into walls, you might not be able to make the time limit. It's a lot lighter on obstacles than the other light cycle sections, and in addition, the timer isn't that bad. You just have to know when to let up on the gas to make tight turns, and you'll be fine. You can even die a couple times and still make it within the time limit. Unlike our original light cycle, this one can't use weaponry, but there's no enemies either, so that's fine. It's not like combat during the light cycle sections was ever really something important. It was just a more dynamic form of obstacle. Man, that hurt. This area up here is the part with the most obstacles, but I get a kick out of it because it's really easy to swerve in between them. Kinda makes me feel like I'm back playing Stuntman. Ignition, that is. So Argus City isn't looking so hot. I think we might have gotten here just a little late, regardless of the regulator. Hey look, a couple tanks for us. Now something really cool is that when we turn invisible because of the stasis disk, these tanks can't see us either. The downside to our stealth is of course that we can't really attack while it's active, but we can get close enough for a sneak attack even on these tanks. If you remember correctly, it only takes our bomb disc to take them down. You should also remember, though, that even touching the tanks destroys us. So what I like to do is climb up here where it can't run us over, and jump off the wall while we throw our disc. Seems to be the best method of attack, though you do have to remember that your bomb disc doesn't reach very far. Oh hey, it's our old friend the light tank, which means we're going to be in for a bit of a drive, so I've got some time to talk about stuff. The system monitor we play as was not really meant to be the only system monitor of its type, just the first. And you could imagine if there were maybe a few more of us, then things probably wouldn't go so badly. I guess that's the theme of this game in general, though, isn't it? It's all too little too late. We haven't seen Korra in a long time, but I also don't see any other ISOs around, so maybe Korra's dead too. That seems a tiny bit unlikely though, given how important Radia said she was. I mean, granted, Korra looked at Radia like Radia was crazy. But Radia hasn't really been wrong so far. Hopefully Korra's still alive, because if she's not, then we're all alone here. Flynn is presumably dead. Gibson died by our hands. That was us. We did that. I don't think the Abraxas virus counts as a friend either. We need to press all 4 switches on this column, and we need to do it within a very strict time limit, which means a lot of strafing. The trickiest thing about that section was the tanks, but if you have at least 4 energy bars, or energy units, I should say, filled up, then you're fine. It only takes 1 heavy disc per tank. So from here on out, it's pretty much a straight shot to the end of the tank section. There's a few winding paths, a few more tanks, but we're mostly done here. This might be my favorite tank section, but it's also not very difficult. It's pretty hard to die. After you learn to fire about a half second before an enemy flies overhead, then you're good. You got the timing down. I can't imagine us making it through this section on foot, though. Wait, no, I can. It would just take a really long time and be incredibly frustrating. The stasis disc comes in pretty handy for fights toward the end of the game. You just need to rush in, and bam, everybody's frozen. It's kind of a stark contrast to how useless I think the corruption disc is. The stasis disc is the only disc that affects every type of enemy besides tanks. It doesn't deal damage, but it keeps them still long enough that, you know, you can switch to the disc that does.
We were too late. Clue hit every ISO enclave before we could prepare. It was brutal. It was a purge. I know Radia told me to, but I shouldn't have stayed hidden. Maybe I could have helped. No. I have to trust she had her reasons.
Do what you're here to do.
Oh, we'll get to that. But first, tell me how it felt. The loss of every other ISO on the grid. Could you feel it?
You're not capable of understanding.
Enough of this.
Don't be afraid, Radia. I wasn't.
Jalen? Is that you?
Jalen is gone. It's Abraxas now.
The accident. You didn't kill him, Clue. You changed him. What did you do?
I simply brought out his true self.
Jalen, what happened?
It doesn't matter. This is what I am now. And what you will be.
A disease, in case you aren't following. Like all ISOs. It just takes a little encouragement to bring it out.
That abomination is not Jalen. It's not an ISO. It's a perversion you created.
Name calling? Really? That's how you want to go out?
Goodbye, Radia.
Whoa! Moving on. Level the place.
I can't hide anymore. Clue has to be held accountable. For Radia, for everyone. Either help me or step aside. Fine.
It's time.
Tron Evolution, almost as depressing as Metal Gear Solid 4. So Braxis can only be hurt currently while he does a ground pound, but he's super vulnerable after he does. He stays there for a while. I like that they hammer in that Clue is just an absolute fucking monster. Has no redeemable qualities whatsoever. Like, this is more than him just doing it because he feels it's the right thing. He's getting some pleasure out of this. He's just the biggest asshole. So for this part, we just have to look where there's crumbling debris and lower Braxis directly under it. I recommend blocking during this entire section. It helps move him where you want to move him. After he's on top of where the debris will fall, you just parry his attack and the debris triggers. The debris will fall if you don't get to it fast enough, but you have plenty of time.
You will die from the inside out, and it will hurt.
Well, yeah, Braxis, I can't think of a situation where dying from the inside out would feel pleasant. So for its boss fights, this game has a habit of adding gimmicks, in case you haven't noticed. It did the same thing with Gibson. This is because the game doesn't lend itself very well to one-on-one fighting. It's really hard to get a back and forth going with this kind of combat system. It's a lot faster than that.
I'll infect you slowly, make you feel every iota of it spreading through your body, make you enjoy every excruciating sensation.
Hey, you there? Welcome back, my friend. Thought I'd lost you there for a while. But you're looking good now. If I'd only gotten out, I could have programmed you some help. Maybe avoided all this. I knew Clue had flaws, but genocide, man? The ISOs were a miracle. Why couldn't he see it? Why couldn't I show him? Before I pulled you out of the city, I saw your friend Quora sneaking aboard Clue's warship. I need you to help her. She's special, more special than you know. Our last hope. If anything happens to her, the dream is dead. Clue wins, and this system is lost forever. I know you've done a lot, but I need one more favor. And with the whole grid after you, it's not gonna be easy. But you gotta get her back to me. In one piece. I modified your disk while you were out. Those virus shards you had gave me an idea. The fight should be a touch more even now. Good luck. I wish I could say you won't need it, but man, I can't lie to you.